Machine.
Hi there, it's Claire here, and welcome to Hot Pod Time Machine. This is the podcast where we have discussed many decisions over many episodes with many guests that have changed many futures, and we have reached the last episode in this series. When I started this podcast, the whole idea was to basically explore decision making and changes because I myself have been and I'm going through a lot of change and have made very big decisions in my life, especially in the last year and a half. So I thought I would sit down with my friends and talk about those times where they had to pivot, when there was a fork in the road, and when life changed. And it's been a wonderful journey. I wanted to start the podcast 40 weeks from my 40th. And when you hear this episode, it will be going out on my 40th birthday. I can't believe that we have come this many episodes far in. There was a few that I couldn't do because life got a bit busy, so I think we get to about 37 or so episodes, but still, we've reached 40 weeks later. And the very first person that I asked on the podcast was Doug Cockle, a good friend of mine that I met through work doing a Comic-Con, doing conventions. And I hit it off with Doug and his lovely wife Marianne straight away, and he was a natural choice for me for the first episode. And now that we've reached the end, he is a natural fit to bookend this series, which has given me so much. It's given me focus, it's given me laughs, it's given me joy, a lot of discovery about other people, my friends and myself. I've really, really enjoyed doing Hot Pod Time Machine. I'm going to go straight into the podcast now. This is Doug Cockle. We started talking a little bit before I hit record, and it was absolute nonsense. So we just thought we'd hit record and get going. So thank you to everybody who's listened to Hot Pod Time Machine. Thank you for all the comments, the likes. Thank you. It means a lot. And no matter what's going on in your life, I hope that you embrace change and embrace whatever comes to you next, because life is very short and it's a bit of a ride. So just take it for what it is. Close your eyes and let the wind flow, my friends. Thank God, I should have written a better speech for this first part, but it is what it is. Thank you so much, honestly, from the bottom of my heart, everybody who's been on this podcast as well. It really did mean a lot to me. So here is the last episode of Hot Pod Time Machine.
Who cares? You can edit this.
Okay, I pushed record. So you were talking about snails by the water.
You don't push record. I didn't get a thing.
I've got it on. It's OBS. I pushed it on OBS.
Oh, you're recording on OBS.
I'm recording on OBS.
Legally listen. See how confused Doug was when I talked to him.
Yes, we've been talking about. I don't know what we're talking about. How I think our levels of introversion and extroversion measured by snails by the lake.
Oh, I was saying that you can't be in. I can't remember. We were talking about introversion versus extroversion, and I said I think I'm kind of either one or the other. I'm either one going, I'm leading this shit, and I'm here, come along, let's go this way, or I'm the one who's at the back, decides not to try to keep up and wanders down to the lake shore to stare at snails for 2 hours.
I know.
I'm either one or the other. I don't seem to fit anywhere in between.
No, the in-between bit's boring. I always feel like the in-between bit is like the grey bit. That's the sort of grey bit. Either go big or go home, or go weird or go home, and there's no in-between. We all... That's...
Nothing wrong with weird.
I love weird.
Go big or go home, or go weird and go home.
Just go home, basically.
Yeah.
Just go home.
Common denominator is just go home.
And like you're home there with like your Tupperware of snails. You've brought it home to Marianne.
Tupperware.
What was that?
I was talking about real snails. Where did the Tupperware snails come from?
I don't know why I feel like you had Tupperware and you were collecting snails by the lake. I don't know why you were taking snails from their natural.
No, that's a great image, though.
I like that.
Not just simply observing the snails in nature, but taking samples out of nature to then stick under car tires, or
like kind of like they're joke snails, but not really, and it's kind of almost cruel. It's like, ah, you're
I'm
the
sure, there are Tupperware snails out there, all those little kitty doll sets and stuff like that, those little strawberry shortcakes and stuff. They had little snail friends, didn't they?
oh, there was a thing in the 80s that I had called key keepers. And I don't know if you remember them, but it was like an 80s kid thing.
Must have been the UK thing.
And maybe it was a UK thing. And there was like a snail that I had. It was pink and it was a plastic snail, like as pink as this jumper. And the shell of it was you could like open it up with a key and put loads of stuff in it. That's how simple the 80s were. Just a giant plastic snail that kept other toys inside it. That was it. And I was really happy with that. I thought that was the best thing. It's not like it
Wow,
not
you
like
had all that. All I had was a cardboard box.
I hate though when people do go, I don't know if you do this, right? But I try to stop myself from doing this. Like when people go, and I was at a comedy gig last night doing some stand up, and it was a lot of it was about getting older from various
Yeah.
stand ups of various ages. Somebody said, oh, they were talking about their quarter life crisis. They're 34 years old now. And I was like, well, what are you talking about, my guy? Like, you're 34 years old. So I try not to do that. Do you find yourself doing that and going, in my day or at my age? I just try not to do that if I can help it.
Hmm. I think, yeah. Yeah, I noticed myself getting older and starting to do some of the things that when I was younger, I didn't want to see myself doing when I was older.
Mm.
Um, and some of them are literally, I don't know that I've ever thought to myself or said out loud, well, in my day, but there are equivalents, the things like, one of my kids comes to me and, with a problem or a question about something, and I do hear, and somehow in my answer there is a, well, back in
Yep. Yep.
you know
100%. You
back
can't
in
help
my
it.
childhood, we just drank out of the hose. We
Like, did you ever drink out of a hose? Like,
Oh, yes. That
did you?
well, was that a cheeky little question? Was that
No,
a
no, because like I always wanted to. No, that was a genuine like
I never
a.
did.
I never did. I came from a very strict
Oh.
family where you weren't allowed to do anything. Like
Oh, right, okay.
it was.
Well, that might explain why, but, these videos on YouTube and, Insta and all these other things, um, these these videos that people make about what it was like to be a Gen Xer, what it was to like to be growing up as a Gen Xer. Some of them are so amazingly on point, and drinking out of the hose is one of those things, but maybe it's a partly an on point American thing. I don't know. I didn't grow up in Europe. So, I grew up in probably what many Europeans think of as the stereotypical American suburb. That was my stomping ground, and so literally when people say that in the summer, we were turfed out of our houses into the street to go do stuff, and then we would go do dangerous stuff, and when we were thirsty we went to the hose because it was there, and sometimes we were playing in it anyways, we were the ones running around in the grass getting muddy, and bruises everywhere and stuff like that. I don't think kids play the same today as we did then, and our parents or grandparents could probably say the same thing again because 150 years ago 12-year-olds were shoeing horses and digging in coal mines or whatever. I think you have to go a little bit further back than 150 years for child labor in coal mines, I suppose, but you know what I mean. It's like,
Yeah, it's it's a it's an interesting thing, like the way that kids play, and I wonder as well, like if that sort of has affected our societies general as a whole. I know this is maybe a bit of a
mm,
heavy one, but I am a bit younger than you, but I always feel like I'm in between the Gen X and millennial thing. They call me a Zennial
mm,
because of the very nature of the years I was born. I was born in 83, I think. So 83, 82 is like a Zennial thing. And
mm,
I used to get turfed out as well, although I came from a strict household, but I would go on my bike. and I would cycle everywhere on my bike, and I'd go out for hours from like, early in the morning, and I had a little bit of pocket money, and I'd maybe like buy some sweets in the shop, and then I'd go into
Yeah.
the woods and I'd explore the woods, and I would be on my
Yeah.
own a lot. And my mum, I didn't have a mobile phone, you didn't have a mobile. We would just go out for ages, and we would know to come home when it started to get dark.
Yeah.
And then you'd come home and it'd be dinner time. And it's that kind of tiredness that you'd feel as a kid, you've been out all day long and you're shattered. But yeah, I don't see kids on the streets during the summer holidays. Like, I just don't see
It's not
them.
the same. Yeah, it's not the same. I want to think that it's not just the way I feel, that it's actually something I've, intelligently and intellectually seen, observed outside of myself. Because I think it is a bit of both. It does, I do feel slightly nostalgic in some ways for, stuff that I grew up with. Um, and y- my mind just went down a whole different track. Remind me to tell you about Ozzy Osbourne. Uh,
And now I want to know about Ozzy Osbourne. Can we say it
No, so
here?
do I now. Where were we going with the other thing? Oh, kids in parks and stuff.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
you do see them sometimes, but they're in parks. Um, and yeah, it's just that out playing on the street thing that we used to do, just in everything. Um,
No
I used to get
distractions.
into yeah, I used to get into storm culverts and things like that, and go build little paper boats and sink them on the sludge coming out of the storm culvert. I mean, who knows what kind of bugs I picked up when I was a kid
That's like
running around.
proper it stuff. That's like the little
Yeah,
that reminds me of it, like the little paper boats. And like, see, that's very American. Like, I always wished that I grew up in America. Like, I watched so many American films, and I really thought that I liked the bigness of America and the vastness of America. And I know there's a lot of restrictions also in America that we all know about, and also it's not a great country in a lot of respects, like the UK has got its problems. But I
mm,
liked it was very vivid to me and colourful, big, and
yeah.
fun. Like,
America's amazing. I mean, I think maybe because I am American, although I've lived in the UK now for over 20 years. Um, there, I certainly feel the Americanness in me. Um, and it makes it even harder when I look back at America from afar, now living now and having lived in the UK for so long. The things that the Americanisms in me that I don't like, I see like are multiplied by 1,000 times from abroad in my country people.
what did you have to
Weird.
not beat down or get rid of, but what were the things that you were like most aware of? I think when you came over here over the years, that you thought, oh, that's very American of me. Maybe I don't do that so much. Did you have any of those moments?
I think I did. I think I had a lot of those moments, and yeah, it's funny moving somewhere else. Yeah, I got it. Claire, you clever. You brought
Why?
this up because you're doing it. We talked about this the last time I was on your podcast. Do
Look,
you remember?
I'm a
Because it was
professional.
only it was this crazy idea back then.
Oh my god, it was like, by the time this goes out, so I'm going to put this out on my actual 40th birthday. That's when it's going to go out. And I started the podcast. It was your episode that went out exactly 40 weeks before. And that's why I wanted you to come back and do it, because I wanted to see where we were both at. At this point in the year, it'll be
Mm,
October 12th when it goes out. And yeah, it was like just a bit of a pipe dream. And now I think I'm very aware of all of that now, because I'm thinking, how will I fit into America, and what will they think of me? And I mean, I think I've got an optimism about it, where I think, oh, they're just gonna be fine. They're gonna be very open and whatever. But America is a very different country, and they operate in a very different way, and people do have a different mentality. So I am scared that I mess it up, like, but it should be okay. But I just want to be able to fit in and get on with people, I think.
you're in LA, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so you're fine. If you were going to the middle of Montana or something, you might have a bit more difficulty. but you're going to be in the middle of La La Land, man. Everybody's, the turn to your left, there's a Elvis impersonator. Turn to your right, there's a housewife who bakes cookies. It's
This is amazing.
bonkers.
That sounds so good. I am excited. I can't believe 40 weeks has passed though, and it's like it's been such a whirlwind, strange year actually. And you've really
Yeah.
gone through it. So, like, tell me about your year. 40 weeks has passed. Talk about whatever you want, but what's your last 40 weeks been like then since you last did this podcast? I know that's a bit of a wide open question, but so how's your that's a really weird. So, Doug, how's your last 40 weeks exactly been? Like,
Yeah.
how has it been
No,
for
I
you?
was just trying in my head. I was trying to do the maths and try to go. How many months is that? When did this all start?
10 months.
Is it 10 months?
Yeah, by the time that this comes out, yeah, yeah. How's
Wow,
it been for you?
10 months. Yeah, it's been good. I mean, I've had some big stuff happen. I've had a lot of ordinary stuff happen. Um, but ordinary stuff that's unique to me. Things that my kids are doing, and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, it's been an interesting 10 months actually. A lot can happen. I think what was 10 months ago? 10 months ago was November.
It was January. When this goes out, it'll be January when we first did
Yeah,
this
yeah, of course.
episode. Yeah, yeah. So
January.
I can't remember where, like, I hadn't started working out yet. Small things like that. I hadn't started.
Yeah,
Like, I think I just was about getting my visa or got it. I didn't have any. My flat was a lot busier than it is now, and it's a lot emptier now. There's not a lot of shit in it now.
yeah,
Like,
we did movie stuff way back then.
I
Yeah,
was just moving things around and looking at things at that point and stuff. And my God, like my whole mindset has changed in the last 40 weeks. Like my brain has completely changed. Like it's been very, very strange. And I was thinking
yeah,
about that the other day, and I was thinking about the last year and a half actually, and all the lovely friends I've made, like you and Marianne and everyone else. Almost everyone on this podcast, I consider a friend or someone I
yeah,
really, really liked when I met them. That I sort of vibed with. But it's so funny how it can change so fast. You know, it's it feels very overwhelming. When I stop to think about it, I start to go, "Oh God, like
yeah.
I'm having an existential crisis, Doug. Shit. Oh my God." Have you ever had those moments in your life though? Because I'm having it a lot recently. Because I'm shedding a lot. When was the last time? This is another. So, Doug.
Yeah, yeah. Immediately, I just thought, "What? Your hair? What's wrong, Claire? What's wrong? You're shedding a lot. You're not supposed to shed.
Sorry, I'm single.
You're not
Sorry.
a cat.
I'm allowed to shed
You
now.
might want to be."
It's all good. Well, Doug, this is a question for you that I'm sure no interviewer has ever asked you. So, Doug Cockle, when was the last time that you had an existential crisis?
Oh, that'll be 2 hours ago.
Oh God! I mean, like we do have
That's a
them.
good one. Feel it.
Here we
There it
go.
is.
And my alarm's gone off. My existential crisis alarm has gone off. Hey!
I said
Oh!
it for exactly never to be known time.
Just randomly. Oh, should be having one by about now.
I planned it all. Yes.
Do you like? Because do we ever truly know when we're having one? Because it's just when I stop and I go, oh, I think I'm having a bit of a moment.
Yeah. Well, I think they come in different sizes. Much like mayonnaise jars or something.
Okay, keep going,
I don't know
please
where
keep going,
I
please
don't know where
keep
that
going,
metaphor came from.
please keep. Explain your mayonnaise existential crisis
Okay.
theory, please.
Okay. Well, more more are they called Russian dolls? The ones where you have a big doll and you take off the top of the big
Yeah.
doll and there's a small doll. That guy, that thing. I think it's more like that. Um, that there are little existential crises, and there are the big ones, and they're so like a big one is like, is there a God? And then finding out that there is or isn't a God would be like a major existential crisis, wouldn't it? No matter what you believed, you'd just be like, holy crap, now I know what God is. I know exactly what it is, whatever it is. So that's the big one. and then you got all the things in the middle, and then you got down to the little teeny existential crisis. It's just like, you know, uh,
What's a small existential crisis? Trying
well,
to
that's what I'm just trying to figure out. The first thing I went to was a stub toe.
Oh, do you ever? So when you stub your toe, you go, life. Like,
No, no, we go, oh, fuck, that really hurt. So there's a discovery process there where you go, oh, ow, stubbed my toe, ow, ooh, actually, ow, that really hurt.
right.
Just
Okay.
maybe there's a journey there. Maybe that's a small existential crisis,
The
or
journey of the stubbed
just
toe.
a moment when you look down on the pavement and you see the ant crossing your path as you're walking, and you know that if you don't change your stride, you will step on it. So you change your stride to deliberately miss the ant. Maybe that is a form of existential crises. Because if you
Oh,
didn't care, you just step on the ant. Why alter your behavior for a creature that has absolutely no real power over you, especially in that moment?
yeah.
But you choose to take a different path and step over the ant. So there must be, in that moment of decision, there must be somewhere in that brain of ours a moment that goes, I should step on the ant.
Yeah, yeah.
And then you decide whether to step on the ant or not. But we do it in this existential moment of crisis of having to make the decision to do so or not do so.
Stub toes. Ants. This is really
That's
philosophy with Claire and Doug.
what I did take philosophy in university, actually.
I took
I,
philosophy. Look at us
I
now.
took a semester of philosophy, and I don't know what I expected, and I don't know what I got. So,
Look, I did like one essay on utilitarianism, right? So
oh,
I went in thinking it's such a so I went in and I studied philosophy, film and television studies, and German. And I think out of all of them, I think I liked philosophy the most because I think at that age, when you're like 17, 18 or whatever, like it really, I felt like I was going home every night. My brain was like swelling, with ideas and stuff. But I can't
yeah,
tell you much about utilitarianism now. That was like well over 20 years ago.
yeah.
Because I would, learn about it, then get really drunk, So like it wasn't staying in. I was like, oh,
Was
it
that a
just
utilitarianist attitude to socializing? Is that
perhaps is it not utilitarianism is all about happiness or how we perceive happiness? It's something like that. I'm
that's
sure
what I'm like.
someone's going to quote me on that, and that's going to be wrong. I didn't enjoy German because I had to read Faust in German at like 9 a.m. in the morning, and that wasn't fun. Uh, it's like reading
That's really
Shakespeare.
fun.
Yeah, it was like, and you're 18, you're going, I'm hungover, man. I don't need this in my life. Come on. And
Yeah.
then film and
Well, in German
television.
as well. I mean, that's like piling a gravel truck on top of a butterfly or something. That's a terrible
What are you
metaphor.
saying? Like German's a beautiful romantic language,
Oh,
Doug.
it's
So,
I
so-
took German as well. I can speak, I think. I
can
mean,
you?
if is that a qualification to put down a language? I don't know if you can speak a little bit of the language, maybe.
I
But
like it, and you're
but
and
you're
you're
absolutely right. German is that, it's got that guttural kind of sound to it, like Arabic or something as well. It's beautiful languages, but the sound of them can be quite harsh, can be quite,
yes.
staccato or whatever it is.
I feel
So
like that sort of because when I think of German people or the mental, because I lived in Germany for a bit, and the mentality of the German people not to tar everybody with the same brush because everyone's an individual, of course.
mm,
But when I think about the language and the way it's spoken and the way it's structured, I am so interested in that because it really does remind me of the flavor of the people there. Not that they were
mm,
always harsh, but it's just the way that they described things, the way that they
yeah.
entertained themselves, their humor. It's not
Well,
fluffy and soft.
yeah, language comes out of a cultural understanding of what's important to us, doesn't it? So, that's the German language evolved out of a multitude of tribes who had things in common, and gradually they talked about all those things in the same way.
Yes. And then there's
So,
even regions where you got the accents flavor the mentality or just the region in itself. Having traveled through so many different parts of America now, I can see it. Like I can
we're
actually,
gonna see what
I
the
can.
dark underbelly.
I could just. It's so
You
interesting.
just been You've just been going to the wrong bus stops, Claire.
Totally. Like, I can feel like different. It's so like the UK. It's like it's just the same. Like I had a friend in Chicago go, oh, the food's better in Chicago. It's rubbish in New York and stuff. And I was thinking, well, that's how I speak about Edinburgh. I'm like, Edinburgh's rubbish. Glasgow's better. It's
Yeah.
the way we're so tribal. Like everything about the human race, even if we don't want to be, and we're like, nah, man, we're just like one love, one human. So of course, you can believe that, but you're still kind of tribal. Like there's still that's why we like sports. That's why, we support things. It's so strange. But you're from Seattle, aren't you? Is it Seattle?
Well, that's where I call home. Yeah,
Right.
that's this Seattle Tacoma area is where all of my family is from
Mm-hmm.
in the U.S. Because my parents were born and raised in the Seattle Tacoma area, and they met and stuff.
So what's your tribal
So
thing in Seattle?
tribal things happened.
So yeah,
Um,
tribal things happened. Things emerged. I don't know what this
it's the
was.
miracle of life.
Just a little Doug, the circle of life.
That's the circle of life. I got it wrong.
The
Sorry,
miracle of
Elton.
life.
No, Bernie. Sorry, Bernie. No, Bernie didn't write it, did he? Did Bernie write Circle of
Elton
Life?
John?
Elton John wrote the music, definitely, but was he the lyricist as well?
Maybe. We're going to have to double check that. Bernie.
My niece know this.
Okay, I don't know anything. But you know what? We could do, the miracle of life, rewrite it, because then Disney won't come after us. So we could do that.
Instead of because circle of life goes top to bottom, goes the circle of life. Would ours have to go
miracle of life?
Life.
It's a bit more shocking.
It is, and to avoid any copyright or trademark issues or things like that, we just opposite.
And I feel it's more true to like being born, because it's a bit of a shitter. You're coming out of like the nice, lovely, and then it's like, so I feel like we got to shock people with the music, like you're born now.
Like we're just being squished out of a sphincter. Yeah. That's what you're talking about. Yeah. That's the image that went into my head. I don't know if that's what you meant.
That's exactly, and that's how babies are born, boys and girls. That's the birds and the bees. So, like, I'm telling you, Doug, after the series is over, we just need to do shit talk with Claire and Doug. We can cover all sorts of topics, like where do babies come from? What is an existential crisis?
I'd like to do this anyways. I mean, even if it's not something we do regularly, just do it for a piss up.
Oh yeah, like absolutely. Imagine if we added like gin to the equation. Oh my god. Like, oh dear. But I like that idea, and I feel like you could voice the baby because it's you, but I feel like you need to voice the baby as yourself now, as an adult man. Just the baby has an adult man's voice.
Wait, where did this baby come from again?
The sphincter.
Where did this metaphor come from? Where are we, Claire? Who are we?
I think.
God, what have we done?
I think it's called an existential crisis on a podcast.
Well, there you go. See, there's a small one. There we go. That's where we were.
Look at us. We're like professionals. We came full circle by accident. By accident. Look at this. We're having an actual existential podcast crisis. I don't know if somehow I thought we were rewriting The Lion King, but you were the baby.
We were. I know. I don't know. God, it's like we're trying to rewind a tape that you just can't quite get straight.
And also, we're old. We're getting very old. I'm like what? Oh yeah, we're talking about tribes. You're what? Okay, in Seattle.
Yeah, but I think that came out of the. Stub toe thing as well, didn't it? Or was tribes before the stub toe thing?
Oh my god, trying to time code this is going to be really fun later. Trying to edit this is going to be great. This is going to be unedited. Oh, because I was saying, what's your tribal thing? And you were saying your parents were born, or you were born and raised in Seattle, and you did this, and then there was a circle of life thing. That's what happened.
Oh, what was I thinking about?
So what I was talking about tribes. So in Seattle, what's the tribal thing in Seattle? Like, what city do you hate?
No, I don't think that's where I was leading with that. There was something else
Oh,
we were talking about. It's on the tip of my tongue, but I can't quite remember what it was. We may have to come back to that.
okay. Okay. We'll put a pin on it. We'll put a pin on it.
Yeah.
I can't imagine. I feel like Seattle's a very chill. I'm going to try and visit Seattle. I feel like Seattle would be a very chill sort of place. And I don't know why I've always thought that. Because I don't know.
Well, I don't know what it's like now. Um, I think it's probably a little bit less chill now, a little bit. There'd be another word for it. It wouldn't be a bad word. It would just be different.
Mm,
Um, when I was there, it was the mid 90s. So it was just as grunge was not on its way out, but the grunge wave had crested
yeah, yeah.
on the other side of the grunge wave. And but that spirit was still super strong in the Seattle area.
Oh, that's cool.
And yeah, and it was really cool to be there for at least that little bit of the grunge era. I loved the grunge era, and I didn't, I would have loved to have been in Seattle or in the Pacific Northwest when that first started to emerge. That must have been an amazing time.
Yeah.
And I'm not like a big music person. I don't like have, loads of musical deep loves or anything like that. It's just that that's a time that I kind of associate the way I feel about myself most to. And I would just caught some of it. And having had that little bit, I think I would have really enjoyed it earlier on when it was still becoming what it became.
That's so cool. You were like there just as even just on the sort of like the end of it or kind of the middle to end of it. That would have been incredible. But you said you didn't have any deep musical like music for me is my like first passion.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's like I sort of not judge people by their music, but like I'd say that gives me a flavor of who someone is when they tell me about things that they
mhm,
like and bands that they like, and then they flavor that maybe through the way that they dress and the language that
yeah.
they speak. Is so important to me, or it was very important to me. I don't know why it always was. So did you not have like a band growing up that you were like, or a sound that you were like, this is my sound, these are my bands? Did you not have that?
Kind of, yeah. I was always a bit, I ran with the more kind of new agey crowd. I was a skater, was a skate rat. Um, I had long hair, longish hair. Um, I was an artist, who wanted to be a scientist.
Oh,
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, I don't know. It was fairly normal, I guess.
I like.
But I didn't. I fell in musically. I fell into the bands I listened to were bands like Depeche Mode,
Yeah.
uh, Concrete Blonde. Um, um, I mean, I tried everything. I tried all kinds of stuff. I loved all kinds of things. Um, the bands I most identified with at the time were U2,
Yeah.
Depeche Mode, uh, The Cult, The Cure,
Yeah.
Tom Petty and the Heartbreakers.
Mm.
Um, I had a big John Denver hangover
Oh,
from
really?
childhood,
Okay. Okay.
and Neil Diamond as well. Yeah, John Denver and Neil Diamond. They were two of my mom's favorite artists.
That
So I was indoctrinated early on into John Denver and Neil Diamond, and I think I fancied myself, especially once I started playing guitar. I fancied myself as a sort of a new John Denver,
oh,
unconsciously.
it's very special to me how your parents' music can really
Mm,
flavor your memories
yeah.
of music as well. Like I think for me it's just music evokes memories so hard. You know,
Mm,
it's more of a memory thing. And I don't have that so much with maybe modern bands now because I think when you're growing up, childhood into teenage times into your 20s,
yeah,
you're making so many new memories. You know, you're going out,
yeah,
you're doing things, you're sitting in bars and you're getting drunk or you're listening to your parents' records as a child. Like I remember War of the Worlds
Mm.
that soundtrack really scaring me, but it was I had this fascination after that with aliens and space, and
Mhm.
the
Okay.
music, the narration was really creepy, and I liked that when that kicked in. I was like, I'm so scared, but I'm so excited. It's so great, and I think I still have that for like horror and stuff. I like that the
Yeah,
fear.
absolutely. I can
It's
see that thread, yeah.
well, I really I like the I said something to someone the other day and I went, I really like dark, intense stuff because I like staring it in the eyeballs and really feeling like and they went, oh, that's why'd you like that? And I don't know, because makes you feel alive. You know, you feel like
Yeah.
sort of like it's like a dopamine hit. You're like, I feel alive because life is
I'm not there.
you know,
I'm
totally.
suffering.
Oh my god, I don't know why I'm like that. I know I don't look like I'm maybe like that. I look like maybe, you know, I don't know, like I should be cast in the friggin' Barbie movie or something, but like Jesus, or outcast from the Barbie movie. But yeah, like
That that cool broken Barbie, who got played with too hard. She
that's
was cool, I
me.
liked
Yeah.
her.
I'm
I
weird
want that
Barbie.
Barbie.
I watched that actually, Barbie, last night. I got a screener for it and watched it at home.
Yeah.
Um it it was okay. Like I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a movie.
It's
It's a
exactly.
it's a fun movie.
I'm not gonna say anything bad about it, but
Yeah.
I was like, it's alright. It's fine.
Yeah.
I liked
Well,
Alan. I liked Alan.
which one was Alan?
He was the one that wasn't a Ken or a Barbie. He was Michael Cera's character.
Oh,
He
yeah.
was just like a kind of little oddball outcast, and I was like, yeah, I like Alan.
Mm, from
Like
now, yeah.
I could vibe with Alan, but yeah, I wasn't. Yeah, it was okay. I feel like a lot of the time, I think like a lot of movies, mainstream movies generally, they've got like the best intentions, and there's like
Mm,
a nice feeling behind what those kind of movies are trying to say, and they're very well done. They look beautiful,
yeah.
but it's still just a big mainstream movie. Like, and I sound like a total hipster wanker saying that, but like,
Well, no, I think some of that comes with age as well because there's only so many formulas you can follow. You know, all art imitates other art. There's just no way around that really. Uh, so yeah, I think you get, as you, I mean, it could be, it's not necessarily age, it's just how many films you've seen and how many connections you've made to other films, and you watch a scene in a film and you go, oh, that's just like that scene in blah, blah, blah. Oh yeah, oh, they lifted this from that. Oh, I see, blah, blah, blah. There's little connections you make about film and film history and all that stuff, unconsciously, even if you're not a film buff, you notice little things here and there sometimes. And you connect enough of those dots and you start to go, oh man, this again. Okay. It's well made, it's beautiful, it's nice. I've seen it before about 13 other times.
oh, I feel like age spoils it. Even music. When I listen to
Mhm.
music, I go, oh, I like this, but this really sounds like this band from the 80s or the 90s or even like the early noughties. And I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm just like, I genuinely have heard like 10 million bands that sound like this. Or it's the same with
Yeah.
like horror. I love horror movies, and it's the same with that. You know, I mean, horror movies they churn them out like whatever. So I watch the Conjuring movies and all that, and I think, yeah, like, you know, those franchises for I was thinking about this, like for kids that grew up in the 80s, like Nightmare on Elm Street, that franchise and stuff was
Yeah.
like their kind of horror junk food.
Yeah, that one and Friday the 13th.
Yes, yes. And now this is one for the modern times for young people growing up. They're like, oh yeah, The Conjuring. They're decent movies, but
Mm.
it's yeah, I don't know. And then it makes you feel like you're just like going, oh, my day. Like it's
Yeah.
not.
Well, that's where we started with a lot of this, didn't we? Yeah, in
Yes.
my day, yeah.
Oh God, I'm trying not to
We
do
do
that.
we do do it. We do it.
We do it because again, I'm bringing it back, Doug. Listen to this. Look how professional I am. It's all about change, and all we know is that change is inevitable, and this is where we are. So no matter what, in 20 years' time, we'll be doing. Can you imagine how unbearable we're going to be in 20 years' time, Doug? Unbearable. It's going to be
Will
awful.
will my Scottish accent be any better, though? I'm not gonna do it this time. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna embarrass myself again.
I
It was
feel
awful.
I feel like I'm better at the American accent now because I've
Were,
been
yeah.
I've
Oh
been
yeah, you were even then, yeah.
okay. You ready for this?
Mm,
So, Doug, we were talking about existential crisis. Oh my
mm.
God, why am I talking like this? It's really
I don't
weird
know,
and
you sound very California there. Spent too much time in LA, I think.
I feel like in California you need to like drop the jaw and be like, oh my God. Let's
Yeah, a
just
little bit more, yeah,
just
yeah.
drop the
Somewhere in between the 2 is probably very true in some places, yeah.
But
It is
how
funny.
do you naturalize an accent? I was thinking that the other day because this is my voice. And then
Yeah.
if I was to speak like this, maybe my voice would sound like this. Perhaps I have to try and not I have to try and concentrate, not be like Gwyneth Paltrow. Do you know what I'm saying? So you gotta. It's weird to sort of.
What's wrong with Gwyneth Paltrow's voice?
I don't know why I think she sounds like this. She's American.
She's Australian, isn't she?
She's American.
Is she?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. It's just so many wonderful Australians popping over, now it's hard to tell sometimes.
No, she's American. Like I feel like I think that she's English because I watched Sliding Doors once, and I was like, yeah, set in England. Like,
Oh, she's American.
yeah, she's American, but she does a
Isn't
really good English accent. Really good.
Oh, I'm thinking of Kate Blanchett. I think
Kate.
that's who is in my isn't Kate Blanchett
She's
Australian?
she's Australian or New Zealand. Yeah, yeah. She's from over that end of the world. That's an accent I will not attempt because I will get cancelled very fast. Like no one
No,
needs to.
I can't do Australian. If I try to do Australian, I just shift between Australian, South African, and Cockney.
Mm,
Just go in this weird circle. It's like it's like an infinity loop of
of crap.
accents that have similar, slightly similar sounds in places.
But you've been here so long. Can you differentiate now between like different types of Welsh, Scottish, like the English accents? Surely you must be able to differentiate now.
Um, not with real granularity. I can. I think. I think the accents I could pick out, um, having just met somebody.
Okay,
Probably a very broad Mancunian.
sure.
I've heard lots of Manchester accents that are really very soft. I
Yes.
spoke to someone just the other day who's from Chester, and they were like, I was just like, well, you don't sound like you're from Manchester to me, but I mean, Chester or Cheshire? Anyway, the one that's right next to Manchester,
Maybe it's Chester, although I'm a terrible British person. I'm like, there's
oh, I know.
Glasgow, there's London.
Yeah.
Like,
It sounds like that old thing, it was the one, I see England, I see France, I see Dottie's underpants or whatever it is.
yeah, I've never heard that before, but sure.
I don't know why that made somehow that made that connection in my head.
I love it. It works. You know what? I don't know why it makes sense to me, but I'm like, yeah, Doug, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. French underpants and dots. Yeah, that's what I heard. Geography. There you go, kids.
Get them out of my
Geography.
head.
Geography with Claire and Doug. We're covering a lot of topics tonight, Doug. We have covered
Oh, man.
philosophy, geography. I
It's
mean,
been lovely.
it's been amazing. So tell me, Doug, in the this so we're reaching the end of the year by the time this comes out, and maybe if people listen to afterwards, like what do you? I'll give you some of my. Okay, I tell you what. I'll give you some of my thoughts first, and we'll end it with yours. I was thinking a lot about change in general, shedding skin. I feel very different about it at the beginning of the year than I did now. I feel like, especially at this age, which is not old but older, you feel like you know yourself. You feel like you've got it all figured out, and that you have set friends, a set life, and just a set way of being. And even within this short period of time between speaking to you in January and now, I've completely flipped it and everything's changed, even in the last 2, 3, 4 months. So I think the only thing I've learned really about change is, again, it's inevitable and we just have to accept it, even if it's bad, even if it's good. It's ultimately going to be all right. I've been very scared a lot this year, and I'm very scared right now. I'm shitting myself, quite frankly, but it's. I think ultimately going to be an awesome thing. And we're just making memories and telling stories at the end of the day. And I want to be a wee old lady in my bed telling some stories. And I
Yeah.
think that's where I've got to with it. So fuck it, basically, is where I'm going to end it on. What about you, Doug?
Yeah. And I think, no, I think that's awesome. I think that's awesome that you've recognized that for yourself. And I think that it's um, what's really important to remember is that, you know, you have to just make choices. You have to do stuff because otherwise you just don't do anything. So if you have a dream, if you have a, you know, if there's something you really, really want to do, if it's within the realms of reality, of possibility, then go for it. Because, you know, I mean, you know, except for those folks who are, you know, believe in absolute reincarnation or something like that, we all know we got one shot at this thing. So, you know, you got to enjoy it while you're here and do things that make you happy and make you interested and keep you interested. And that's what you're doing, Claire. You're going, damn, I really have this thing I want to try. Go for it. And you're going for it. I mean, that's amazing. It's a brilliant, brave, courageous. I use that differently from brave. Brilliant, brave, courageous, and exciting thing. And will things go tits up? Absolutely, they certainly will. But that's part of the whole experience, isn't it? That's what it's all about. It's, and in the end, if there is an end, if you really want to, even think about that being a possibility, because really, does anything really end? Everything just moves on to another phase, doesn't it? But, you know, if that ends, then you'll be somewhere else with new ideas and new things and all the experiences that you've just had that you wouldn't have had you not made the choice to do it.
Exactly. And I'm going to say this. I am so glad that we met because it's without people like yourself, lovely friends that I've made, and the encouragement, I wouldn't even be doing this podcast. I wouldn't be doing a lot of things. It's all, everyone helps you.
What can we blame for that?
Look, it started with, we were talking about snails and you were like, hit record. And that's why I love you to bits. Hit record on the snails. Let's go right now. Let's go. Like, I'm just gonna I don't know how I'm gonna edit it, but we'll get there. Doug, it's been great having you on the very last episode of Hot Pod Time Machine, and you were on the very first, so you've bookended it. Everybody, please watch out for Doug and Claire's thoughts on life coming soon. God, good luck to you all. But Doug, thank you very much. It's been wonderful having you and wonderful speaking to you. And you've been an amazing friend. You and Marianne have been great.
Like you're saying, like you're burying us.
I know. Goodbye. Good night.
You've been great friends, but you're not my friends anymore. Once I move to America, I'm dropping all you losers.
Oh my
I'm
God.
going to be my LA friends.
Who are you again? Who are you? Oh my God, who are you? I'm sorry. Doug Cockle?
Claire! What's Claire? You taught me how to do my Scottish accent. I don't know where it's gone.
Oh my God, what? Scotchland? Okay, no. Ugh, no, put that away.
Don't you remember me, Claire? Don't you remember me, lass?
Lass! Wow. Well, they've got a new Highlander film coming out, so good luck with the audition. Doug, good luck with that.
No, I heard a rumor. That Henry Cavill was being considered or wanted to be considered for the main role.
I heard that too.
Ooh, that would be an interesting casting in a good way. Like, that would be cool to see.
It would be cool to see, but obviously my old ass is going, but the first film was so good. But I'll be interested because he did a good job in The Witcher and he's a great actor. Yeah. So I feel like that's the vibe. So yeah, I think he would be good. But if that fails, then I mean, there is the Spaniard. They've got the Sean Connery character. That would be
I know. I was just thinking the same thing. Yeah. So who would play Sean Connery in the new? Who? Me?
Yes.
What? Are you pointing at me?
Yes. Are you pointing at me?
I didn't realize you could do that. Your finger is in my shot. I was like, well, how are you getting into my camera? That's amazing. That's magical, Claire. How are you doing that?
It's like we've been talking a lot about age, and this is exactly why, kids.
But yeah, so who would play the Spaniard in the new Highlander?
I vote
let's just say against Henry, just because that's what we were talking about.
I think Henry should get it. You should play the Spaniard. And that'd just be a lovely casting. Can you imagine? That'd be great. And you could wear that lovely red velvet outfit that he wears. And you could like grow a sort of little moustache thing.
And in all my sword play, I incorporate flamenco dancing.
Yes. Or maybe something just a little bit different. Maybe not flamenco dancing. Maybe you're not the Spaniard. Maybe your cast is something different, like the Austrian, or I don't know, like some kind of other. Just yodel. Is that what yodel?
The Austrians yodel. Okay, I'll get my lederhosen.
Oh my god! And like Henry Cavill's like
sprechen Deutsch und Italia und Francia und
Henry
Cavill. Because oh god, that looks like I'm doing some kind of.
It's okay. You're not. For the record, he's not. Don't worry. And for those listening to Spotify, nothing happened. It's all good. It's all good. Henry Cavill, and you turn up and you're like, ha ha ha, and you're lederhosen, and Henry Cavill in a thick Scottish accent. It's like, who the fuck are you? Like, I'd love to. Just love to be really Scottish.
Like you flamenco and yodel.
Is that you flamencoing and yodeling? Whoa! Ooh. It sounds like something's sore, like so you've hurt something. So it's like, oh.
Well, I probably have if I'm trying to do a flamenco and sword fight and yodel in lederhosen.
Henry Cavill's like, fucking hell, mate. Fuck's sake. Like, love it. Please make this film happen. I'm a very big fan of this film. Doug, you've been awesome. Thank you so much. For everyone watching along, if you want to watch the first episodes, it's on YouTube with Doug and me. That was the very first one. 40 episodes or so, or just under before this. I've been Claire. This is Doug. This has been Hot Pod Time Machine, and we'll see you again very soon, maybe. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hot Pod Time Machine.